For the past 5 years, I've trusted Kai Vision Studio with my podcast. And every time, Claudio delivers an exceptional experience. The setup here is flawless. Professional lighting, crystal clear audio, and a custom set that makes every episode look elite. As someone who speaks on leadership, I know how important it is to show up with clarity and confidence. This studio allows me to do just that. The quality here isn't just about the equipment, it's about the environment. Claudio has created a space where I can focus on my message, knowing the production will be sharp, engaging, and professional. In a world flooded with content, standing out matters. And having a studio like this gives me the edge to produce videos and podcasts that truly connect with my audience. If you're serious about creating high-quality content, I can't recommend Kai Visions enough. Claudio makes you feel at home, yet delivers at the highest level. 5 years in, I'm not going anywhere else. This episode is brought to you by Whitaker Garage Doors, your one-stop shop for all things garage doors. Proudly based in Peekskill, New York. Your home is a direct reflection of your personal style. And let's face it, your garage doors are the first thing people see when they pull up your driveway. Whether you're looking for the timeless charm of a classic carriage house door or the clean, sleek look of a basic wood finish, Whitaker Garage Doors offers traditional options for every taste and budget. I can personally vouch for their incredible service. When I had my own garage doors done, I was blown away by their timeliness, professionalism, and overall respect for their clients. Jonathan, Cassara, and their entire team are top-notch, and they really go the extra mile to ensure you're happy with the final result. So if you're in the market for a new garage door or need some repairs, give them a call or find them on Instagram at Whitaker_doors. Don't forget to tell them you're a friend of Dave's over at the No Snooze podcast. Whitaker Doors. You won't regret it. Now, back to the epi. Adversity? Bring it. The struggle, I welcome it. Snooze on life, never there. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 235. As always, I'm in the booth with a brand new three. We have Claudio the Voice, Valenzuela, Amanda, Mandy Rose Saccomanno, and I am Dave, the Body, Regina. Amanda Mandy Rose Saccomanno is a powerhouse woman, a former WWE superstar, a WBFF champion bodybuilder, entrepreneur, and co-host of the Power Alphas podcast. She first broke onto the fitness scene in 2013 and then in 2015 on WWE's Tough Enough, quickly becoming one of the most recognizable and respected women in professional wrestling. Since stepping away from the ring, Amanda has continued evolving, building a platform in multiple industries focused on health and high performance. Through her podcasts, fitness content, and public presence, she inspires others to lead with strength, ownership, and intention. And beyond the spotlight, she's a proud and loving wife to Sabby Piscatelli. Together, they represent loyalty, resilience, and the power of living in alignment. I am so grateful to have Mandy here with me today. Amanda, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, usually I'm the body. I sound very silly talking about that in front of you.
I love the
and
name.
Also your husband, but we'll get there too. I would be remiss, though, if I did not start this with this little debate that we got going on right here. So there's a blue Yeti on the table, which is mine, sitting next to a taller, little bit bigger Stanley. So,
or do we not like Stanleys?
Do you like Stanleys better than Yeti?
I mean, to be honest, this is my favorite one so far. I've had a few different Stanleys and Yetis.
Why Stanley versus Yeti?
Well, I can't really say like there's a specific reason. I just like this Stanley a lot because it has the little, don't mind my lipstick on there, has the little thingy with the handle.
Right.
And I don't know. And it's just.
So for me, it's become such a big thing because I saw this TikTok of like this woman walking around with like a big garbage can mocking
I saw
the
that.
Stanley. So I'm like, oh, this is a feminine thing in my head. Oh. So now I'm just Team Yeti, but I saw your big husband, my brother Sabby over there, also holding
with the little one.
little Stanley. So I'm like, what is going on?
Funny story. He was using my Stanley, getting annoying, using my, my water jug, and you know how we are with our water, like. And I was like, just get one on Amazon. And he does this thing sometimes where he's like, you just get it for me. And I'm like, okay. So I go to order it, and I type in, I guess, the wrong ounces, whatever. So the little one comes in, he goes, "You're not serious, right? How big I am? You get me a little." And I'm like, that's why you should have ordered it,
So good. All right. So we'll end the beef there, but Team Yeti all day. All right.
I respect that.
I tried to go back as I was driving here. I was trying to think of like the first time that we actually met and connected. And really what I remember before we ever spoke, I remember seeing you in the gym, Sabby in the gym. But the one thing that I noticed about you, the time frame, you were on that Stairmaster every single day at the same time. And it just caught my eye because, as you know, you go to the gym, you see individuals. But I was like, wow, this chick is pretty disciplined. And then, of course, I see this big monster in the gym. We got a little bromance going on for a while. We didn't really talk, right? And then eventually we ended up connecting. But where was the first time that you and I spoke? Was it at the deli?
I feel like it was at the deli. And it's so funny you say that because when I had my brother working out at that time frame, because he has his moments. He's back working out now, but he's a little inconsistent. We got on him a lot. It's busy. Now he's having a fourth child, so it gets in the way. But he was working out with us, and he recognized you. And, obviously, there's not that many large men that
Let's
in the
go,
gym.
baby.
So when Sabby's around, whatever, and he's like, damn, he came up to me, and we always make jokes. He's like, Sabby's got some competition over there. So then we always obviously admired the way you looked, and obviously, we see someone that takes good care of themselves. So Sabby and I were like, yeah, he really does. And then I think it was you came into the deli, which I was like, oh, that's the guy from the gym.
And we
acted all like
in my head, I was like, oh, that's the fit couple from the gym.
It's like we wanted to talk, obviously, because we had that connection of we all take care of ourselves. We're all in here every day, whatever. But it's so funny, and you didn't know that was obviously my dad's deli, right?
No,
you had no idea because you've never been there.
No, I actually was looking for the old location, so I actually went there, saw something on the door that it moved.
Yeah, because
then I just Googled
GPS our Google Maps was still off.
Right. So then I Googled the deli, Arthur Avenue Deli.
Right.
Mayapack.
Yeah.
Right. And just the location switch, and that's when I went to that deli. But I was looking for a good sandwich that day. And then I see you guys, and I'm like, oh, the fit couple. And I had, funny though, I had no idea.
That's so funny.
No idea who you were.
Yeah.
No idea who your husband was.
Right.
No idea about the deli. It just happened that way.
That's so funny.
And then I remember talking to somebody after I connected with Sabby, and they're like, do you know who Mandy is? I'm like, no. They're like the female version of The Rock. And I'm like, well, I don't watch wrestling, dude.
Well, damn. Thank you, whoever said that. That's a compliment.
But so to me, I don't watch wrestling.
Right.
I never was, familiar with it. But then I did a little bit of research, saw we had some mutual friends.
Yeah.
I went to Manhattanville with Chad, who probably you went Wallace.
Yes. Yeah, Chad Wallace. Yeah, yeah.
Right? So you went to high school with Chad. I went to college. So I started connecting dots.
Right.
I'm like, wow, okay, you grew up in Yorktown. Now I live up in that area. So that's really how we connected. I like to bring context to it.
Same,
just for the listeners. So with all the success though, if you had to strip away all these titles, the platforms, the accomplishments, who is Amanda at her core?
So that's a good question because getting back to kind of obviously I'm from Yorktown, and people that you may run into that know me, know who Amanda is before all the fame and everything else is everyone's always it's so cool to see her now because she's still the same, Amanda that we know from, because I worked at Traditions Restaurant for years. So I waitress, bartended, I babysat, I worked at my dad's deli. So I was a hustler, before I even got to WBFF and then WWE and all that. So I just always was grounded. I always, I'm a family girl. So I just, no matter how much fame or how much money I ever make, I always, I stay grounded and I'm very humble. So I feel like who Amanda is, I grew up with 3 older brothers. I was a little bit of a tomboy, believe it or not. Hated to brush. I never brushed my hair. My mom was always like, it's so crazy to see you now. You were such this little rag doll. You didn't want your hair brushed. You were always with the boys. And I didn't become like a girly girl till later on because I was around a lot of, men for big part of my life, my upbringing. And obviously I was very close with my mom, but she like would work nights. And I remember like I hated when she worked nights because I was just stuck with the boys. But I think it really like helped me, become the woman that I am, the strong woman that I am today, because I do think surrounding myself around the men that I was surrounded by, my brothers, my dad, they were a little tough on me, right? They were obviously
nice Jewish guys, right?
Oh yeah, your typical little old school, Italian dad with 3 older brothers that just were, I couldn't, date a guy until I was older, and it was like my brother was punching this kid coming out of middle school, like it was just insane. And I hated it then, but obviously now I look back and I'm like, they were always protecting me, and they're always. And now they joke around because now they're like, you could beat our ass. So somehow this got flipped. But like I said, it kind of like molded me into like the strong, independent woman that I am today. And I feel like it really helped me kind of have that like, mentality of like, I don't need anyone, I'm so blessed and so grateful for Sabby now and this team that we have. But it's like my whole life I was so independent, and I just like, I just wanted to be successful so bad, but I wanted to always give back to my family as well. And that's what I do now. I'm always trying to give back and do what I can to help my family from my success. And I'm so grateful for it. So I just feel like, Amanda is anyone that knows me from, the town that I grew up in. They just know that I'm like the humble, like cool girl. Like I'm not like people when they first meet me, and I'm sure you can, and I won't be offended, but people that first meet me, when they don't have a conversation with me, they're a little bit like, oh, she's gonna be a bitch. Like I get that all the time.
See, so for me, maybe it's the gym thing.
Right.
I never thought that.
That's cool.
I saw you had your shit together just physically, and in my mind, whether I saw you stand, because I think the first time I saw you, you weren't with Sav. So I just saw you by yourself, and I was just like, oh, she's fit, and she's now here. Oh, and then tomorrow she's here again. Oh, the next day she's here. So I'm like, yo, she's like about her business. But yeah, I think more people who are not in that space, but I get judged too. I mean,
you could get judged
too.
I mean?
It just happens.
And so does Sabby. Yeah.
But no, I didn't think that. And then even when I spoke to you for the very first time, I could sense I didn't know who you were.
Right.
So you
Which
never
is cool.
gave me a vibe of, like maybe she's somebody. Maybe the Lambo in the parking lot gave it away.
True.
But after that, even still, it was just very, very normal. I mean, then we went out to dinner, just great conversations, all about the family. And that's the type of individual that I want to be around personally. And I'm sure even on your end, like who wants to be around people that are just,
And then that's how I feel too. And I've been around a lot of people, obviously, in, WWE, in the fitness world or wherever it may be. And, everyone's trying to take each other's spot, or the jealousy and the cattiness. And like, to me, it's just like, I don't want any of that. Like, I'm such a down to earth, like girl, like, trust me, I'm competitive and I want to be the best. And I want to get that title and whatever opportunity I can get, like when I was there. But it was like, I wasn't going to bring someone else down to get me to the top. And it's just who I am as a person. And, and that's what sets us apart, obviously, from the rest. But that's cool. I'm glad I didn't come off like that.
No,
you.
definitely
But
not.
I think probably because I'm like in my element in the gym too, where like people that see me that don't know me too, like, I don't, in the gym, I don't wear makeup. I don't look all dolled up either. Like I just have my, I'm trying to work out,
you're
whatever.
Very fit though, so you kind of
true. So I do kind of stand out a little bit.
You definitely stand out.
That's true.
So take me to 2013. That was a big year for you, right?
Yeah.
So in 2013. How old are you now?
So I just turned 35.
Happy
last
birthday!
Week.
That's
you.
Right. I'm 35 too.
Oh,
so we're in our,
I didn't know we were the same age.
I know you thought I was
Wow.
younger. Yeah.
Yes, I did actually.
Absolutely,
Totally.
100%. But 2013 was a big year for you because that's when you kind of cracked into the scene in the bodybuilding space, right? And I'll fast forward you a little bit. I do my research.
I could tell.
So $30,000 comes your way off of winning a fitness competition.
Yep.
But at that time, I believe you still had 3 jobs.
Yes,
Accurate?
I did.
Talk to me about that time frame and I guess how that really catapulted you into, what a lot of people know you as, Mandy Rose.
Yeah, for sure. So, 2013 was a big year for me because I was waitressing. I started, I was bartending. I was making great money at the restaurant I was at in Somers. And I kind of really came out of my shell because I'll never forget, like waitressing and bartending like really helped me with like my social, not that I had like anxiety, but it was more like I was shy, right? I was a little bit like, guarded, and I wasn't very open to talking to strangers or just meeting people. And I feel like that really helped me open up and become more personable to like, you know, we had a lot of regulars. So I was just very close with people and really close with the staff as well. So one of the girls that I worked with, who was big into like cycling and working out, she was like a mom though, you know, she had 2 little ones at the time. And she was like, you know, I feel like you'd be really good at competing. And I had no idea what, you know, I knew obviously that some of the big timers that competed, but I was like, oh really? I'm like, what do you mean? Like I immediately thought like the figure girls. And I'm like, I don't know if I'd like that, whatever. But then she was like, no, there's so many different divisions, bikini, fitness, whatever. So I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. So I started getting with a trainer. I was actually, I don't know if you remember this gym. You wouldn't have gone because I think it was an all women's gym, but you probably remember seeing it. In like between Mayapack and Carmel, actually where the deli is, but across the street, there was like an old gym in the shopping center of shop. You don't remember, okay?
No.
Because you're not really in that area.
Right,
I always
right.
forget. Yeah, you're right. Okay. So anyway, there was this like small like hole in the wall
Old
gym.
school bodybuilding though.
Kind of, yeah, but like only like women and like one little room. So I started training with this trainer whose name was Tabitha, and you know I had no idea what I was doing, but she's like, "Oh, you got this!" Like right away, you know, I was always an athlete and you know fit, but not that fit, of course. And she's like, there's a show in Boston in June, I believe it was, of 2013. And she's like, you're going to compete. And I was like, okay. So like I said, I really didn't know what I was getting into, but I just trained. I listened to her, did what I had to do, and stepped on stage. And obviously I practiced my walk. But I was very like blinded. Like I walked in there like, and that's kind of just like what I do with a lot of things in my life. And I just figure it out, right? Like you're going to figure it out.
Like the waitress walk.
Yeah.
You know, same thing. I got it.
I think I got this. I can hold a tray. I mean, why can't I just go out in a bikini? And of course, my dad was always like, wait, you're going to walk out. Yeah. I'm like, you're going to come to see me. And I was a little like nervous because I, you know, that's thong and whatever. Oh my gosh, shit. But that was when he was coming out of his shell of like, you know, understanding that I'm going to be, you know, a woman now. And like, you know, you got to accept the fact that like, I'm going to eventually get married. Like he was very old school. Like I couldn't talk to my dad about anything. That's a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
Now we talk about everything. But anyway, so I did the show. I placed first. You know, like I said, I really didn't know what I was doing. But then I was like, oh, this could be something. And my ex at the time that I was with for a very long time, he was very supportive and very like, you know, great when it came to that. And he just like saw it too. And he was like, you know what? He's like, I feel like this could be something for you. I feel like you need to pursue this. It was his restaurant that I was working at. So he was like, I feel like this is a good, you know, stepping, you know, place for you to kind of move on from the restaurant and go somewhere else, whatever. So I just pursued that. And then Worlds came, which was 2014, was when I won that $30,000 contract, which was a contract with a supplement company.
Very cool.
So that was and that was the highest prize they ever gave anyone. So the stakes, like it really made the stakes higher because they announced it like a few weeks before we all were like going out there and everyone was like, you know, 30,000. And that was a lot of money at the time for me. I was like, and it was for like a year contract with a supplement deal. So then since when I got that was kind of when everything just like, you know, sponsorship deals and started, you know, really working on social media and promoting things and that's kind of like where it all begun from the fitness to everything else.
And now at that time though, you were into fitness, but not necessarily
right.
You know, like engulfed in it.
Right.
Until you then said, hey, look, I'm going to actually pursue this.
Exactly.
Right. You had genetics going for you and a little bit of work ethic.
Yes.
But from what I'm hearing from the story, I think the family dynamic, you know, the way that you were brought up, the hard work ethic, once you went in, that was the time that you went all the way in.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And I did like, you know, I started working out and I saw results pretty quickly, thankfully, you know, of good genetics and all that. But I was like, oh, and then when I started getting really involved and like I always had like bigger legs when I was younger. And my brothers called me hamburgers.
I knew it.
I was waiting for you to bring that one up because everyone brings it up. But it's a funny story just because my brothers even look back today and they're like, even on our family vacation, they were just like, I can't believe we would call you that. Like you weren't even like chubby. Like they were like, we're so mean. And I'm like, honestly though, I'm like, I guess maybe it made me
Why did they call you that though?
So one day we were going through the drive-thru at McDonald's and it's crazy. My older brother actually that passed, but he was 8 years older than me, my brother. So, you know, we weren't super close growing up because we were, you know, a little far in age, but as we got older, we got really close. But he was the one, and he was a little shit when he was younger because he was just the oldest, and you know he teased us a lot, my brother, other brothers. but I had a little, Happy Meal hamburger or whatever, and I ate it fairly quickly. And I wanted another one. And everyone in the car, I don't know what it was, but I said, I want another hamburger. And my brother in the back was like, how many hamburgers did you eat? And I don't know what made me say this, but I was like, 100. And it was just became this thing. So my brothers like later on were just like, that's her nickname, hamburgers. But like it got embarrassing because I was in middle school and they thought it was funny still. And I'm like running to the bus one day and my other brother, Gary, is on the bus and he puts down the window thing, or his friend nonetheless did this, which was even worse. And he's like, come on, hamburgers, you're going to miss the bus. And I just like stopped and I was like, this is my life going forward.
I debated introing you as hamburgers.
Oh my God, if you did that, I would have died. That would have been, I would have.
Just melt right in the chair. No, I'm a little.
Or you had a hamburger for me, like sitting right here.
Oh, man. So when did you start? Because this is, I guess, interesting now. So that, period of 2013 to 15, when do you start seeing yourself, I guess, as more than just the fitness now and kind of get into this entertainment space, right? With like wrestling.
Yeah. So I didn't like know that this was going to, be the outcome in the future or whatever it was. So what happened was I started training with another trainer in Jersey, Mike Gudango, and he was under with like John DeFranco, who used to train Triple H. So it was more like sports performance training. So my ex at the time, again, he was just a big part of this time period. And he was like, he always looked at me. He was a big wrestling fan growing up too. So he always would say like, you could be like Trish Stratus. So I think that was like his little thing of like, pushing me too. But he was right. I got compared to Trish Stratus a lot, obviously years later. But he's like, I feel like you can get into wrestling. And I was like, wrestling, really? But I didn't do anything to try to get into wrestling. Like he would just always say this. So I wanted to switch up the training because I was doing a lot of bodybuilding training and I wanted to like get more agile and just like more athletic based sports performance. So I started training with this guy in Jersey. Then he was saying the same thing because he obviously had some connections, but it never happened through them at all. It was just, the irony of it was just, I randomly got a call from the CEO of WBFF, the Bikini Competition Federation, that they were recruiting a bunch of girls and guys for a reality show, Tough Enough, for 2015 with WWE. So it was like really weird timing. And like at that time frame, I was like, oh, I was in like the best shape of my life, not just physically, but like just, the how I was moving and the sports performance training and all that really helped. So I did this Skype interview, had no idea what I was doing there, but all I remember is I kept saying like, I was raised with 3 older brothers, but I'm not a Barbie doll. Like it was, if we could find that interview, if we could find that Skype interview, I would be so embarrassed, but it would be hilarious. So I did that, and then they asked me to come to Orlando, but nothing was like definite. They were basically saying, you're a candidate for the show. We're gonna fly you out to Orlando. If you do make it, you're here for 3 months. If you don't, we'll just send you back. So pack for 3 months. So I tell my mom and dad, I'm like, I might be on this reality show. And now, of course, my dad, reality show right away. He's like, reality show. He's like, what do you mean? You're not doing this how he talks. Yeah. He's like, you're not doing a reality show. Like, you're better than that. Like, he wanted whatever. And mind you, at the same time, I was going to school for speech language pathology. So I had my bachelor's speech pathologist.
Speech pathologist? Teacher?
Yeah, it's basically, you could actually do a lot more with that, which is cool. You could be in the school, you could be in hospitals, you can be home care. So I liked the field because my cousin had did it. And I originally was doing early childhood education, but speech pathology gave a broader opening of like different places to work, because you could work with, patients who've had strokes, when they're older, and it's regaining their communication and all that. So I was doing that, had my bachelor's, and I was trying to get into a master's program that wasn't super far because I really didn't want to commute far, and I didn't want to move from, where I was living. Because also at the time, there's so much going on, but my parents were also going through like a divorce. So I was at my dad's house still, and it was a little unconventional. My mom moved out, so my dad stayed at the house. And I was the only girl, of course. So like I felt like I needed to like be there for my dad, but also like help him with things. So I didn't really want to that's when I didn't move in with my ex, because I was like, oh, let me stay at my house. So a lot of things going on. But so I didn't get into a program right away. So I said, let me just hustle and work. And then obviously the fitness and all that took off. But fast forward to Tough Enough. I went to Orlando. I told them I'm going to do it. They said, whatever you want at this point. and I made the show. But the training was probably the craziest training I've ever done in my entire life, just for that reality show. Like they say I think because the cameras were on and it was a show, that training is like, the tryout is harder than like the actual WWE tryout. Because the guys were like, no offense, but these guys, and they took guys from a lot of different backgrounds, football, all different sports, and these guys were like throwing up. Like guys were just leaving. They were like, screw this, but they wanted it. They wanted to see that. But I was a trooper. Yeah, it was crazy. I was actually really proud of my work there because that was when I was in like going back. If I was to do it now, I probably wouldn't make it.
Right.
Just because we're older.
Yeah, but I think that's where the upbringing though really comes in again, and just when you're committing to something, you're like, listen, I'm going all in. So you end up.
Yeah.
So everyone from our generation, right, CV, you know that show for sure, right? Tough Enough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like who doesn't know that?
And
show?
it's funny because they had one in 2015 that I was on, and then they had one when obviously the Miz came from Tough Enough, so he's the biggest success from Tough Enough. Before me and a few others, but so it was like kind of years before that. So they didn't have one for a while, but it was fun. It was wild though, that show.
Mm-hmm. And you end up winning the show, or
no, runner up actually.
Runner up. So now with this, does a contract come? Yes.
Well, not necessarily. So the whole point of the show, fans were voting, but now I became like the evil bitch on the show, and not intentionally. It sort of like happened like that. I got saved, and like going back to what people just didn't like me for some reason, maybe because they just thought I was in it for the fame or the money. And the girl that I was going up against too towards the end, she was like the girl next door, and she was just like more relatable, which is understandable. So they like voted for her, and like I was not getting votes, but I became like this nasty bitch on the show. So Chris Jericho at the time like pulled me aside, him and Lita actually, and they were like, listen, I know you don't know much about wrestling in this world, but we're going to give you a little like pointer here. You may not win the show because of the votes, but you're going to win in Vince McMahon's eyes because he already really likes you. And they gave me a little Iggy there, we call it. So he's like, they're like, so just keep doing you and like even times it 10 because this is what WWE is all about. So like this could be, so Mandy Rose really like derived and started like originated from Tough Enough, I think, because that's when like that character of like, just like this didn't give an F and just was like, knew my shit didn't stink and knew, but like proved it too because I was like winning challenges, which was cool. And I was also like hot, but they were like, of course she can't be that good because she's hot, hot girls aren't that good. It's like the whole stigma. So like I kind of was like proving them, but they like wanted to hate me so much. And that's what happened. I was the runner up. I didn't win the votes, but I got signed with WWE and I got put on Total Divas, which was like double whammy.
Yeah.
So I was like actually grateful that I didn't win. I was like, I win, thank you. Because that is a huge show, Total Divas.
Wow. So, I mean, the thing that's really cool there is like we all have these alter egos in life, but you just actually had an opportunity to like live this one out.
Yeah,
which is very cool. Now, did you ever struggle though with the identity piece though? And because it must be pretty hard to be, the way that you are, very humble, family oriented, and then put on this persona, which obviously we can all do that. Look, our shit doesn't stink. We look in the mirror, we're like, all right, we look good, cool. But then you have people probably really believing that about you.
Yes.
So that was probably extremely challenging. Did that ever take an emotional toll on you?
It did, for sure. And it's funny you asked because like going back to my hometown, my dad has a business and he's had it for over 30 years up there. So people would go into his deli that are watching me on TV, and they would say like, oh my God, like your daughter, like she's such a bitch. Like, cause it was coming across like, I like my New York was coming out. Like there's one clip where I'm like, like I'm doing the clapping, like it was bad. But I look back and I'm like, oh my God. And my dad, and people when they watch reality TV, of course they think it's real, right? But obviously it's not all real, and there's so many things that are going on, and they're telling you to do things, whatever. So it did put a little toll because people would go up to my dad, and my dad didn't like it so much because he's like a very, just the way he is, like he's like, yeah, that's not my daughter. I don't know what they're making her do, whatever. So he'd like say like that's not my Mandy, and like people that really do know me and knew about the show, they understood it. But I did feel a little bit like, oh, I feel like, people are going to judge now, or when I go back home from a small town, like, but it's reality TV. Like we all know when we watch, Housewives and stuff, all the fights, like it's not, they're all hugging and kissing later on. It's whatever. It's just, so it did put a little toll on me, but then I think then when I got more involved in the company, like I realized I'm like, okay, no, like Mandy Rose is a character, a little bit of alter ego, a little bit of like Amanda times, 100, like exaggerated in a sense, because I'm not really like that. But I had to like kind of really put them as two different things, really like categorize them so people know that like, because I never want to like make people think that like that's really who I am.
Right.
Because I was like, did a lot of crazy shit on TV.
Yeah.
I was a homewrecker.
I gotta go back and watch. I gotta go back and watch now.
Oh, I was like, I did a lot of weird, they wanted me to, so I just agreed to it.
No, that sounds tough. Even as I'm listening to it, I'm like, all right, that's probably where it gets difficult.
It was a hard
but
adjustment.
Also, but listen, I'm sure you love your wrestling fans, but wrestling fans in general, they're a little crazy.
Oh, crazy. And they're no joke.
Ride or die.
Ride or die. Like, I'm blessed for every single one of them. But yeah, and people that don't know, they realize that they're like, wow, they are the craziest fans out there. And they are.
Yep. And I think
100%.
to the rest of the world, it's a level of ignorance, and not in a bad way.
No.
But just being ignorant to what wrestling really is and the entertainment piece to it. I mean, but there are fans that like, they know it's fake and it's like this facade, but then it's like they just believe it to be real anyway. It's this strange dynamic, because sometimes I talk to people I can't relate because I don't really. Because I used to watch Thursdays?
Thursday.
And then Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
What was the Thursday
SmackDown
show?
was on Thursday,
SmackDown?
I think. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. They've
Something
changed
like
it so many times. I think
Yeah.
SmackDown was Thursday.
Yeah.
Raw was Monday. There was like a Saturday show way back. So I didn't grow up watching it really either. I mean, I've obviously.
Yeah.
Knew Hulk Hogan, who, rest in peace.
Right.
It was terrible. And, The Rock and like the greats. And, but I wasn't like a diehard fan. But I think now that I was a part of, the business for like 8 years, and it is when you see the little kids, like the fans, that are like this, like it's such a hard thing to, like explain, but it is such a cool thing to watch, because it's like these larger than life characters, and when you're there, it's the only show that like I feel like the superstars are so involved with the fans itself, and they go off the fans and the reactions and the boos, like that. I think they feel like they are involved, and I think wrestlers give the fans a much like more comfortable feeling of feeling involved. Like, for instance, when you go through the airport and you see wrestlers, like unfortunately it's gotten a little crazy, and a lot of people are saying like, you have to respect people's space, like you can't run up to them in the airport, but like we do give them that feeling of like they can just come up to us and sign an autograph, which is great. But then on the flip side, it's like, well, like, when you see, and I'm not comparing myself to like Michael Jordan or anything, because obviously that's no comparison.
It's okay.
But you know what I mean? Like, if you see like, well, Michael Jordan probably wouldn't be flying commercial either. So there's just differences to it. You know what I mean, though? Like, I feel like we accept it a little bit different, that like, because we are so grateful for our fans, that like we give them that opening. And I feel like sometimes it backfires on us as well. Yeah. Which
it's like cool for the little kids.
Yeah.
But also like, see, this is where like the grown adults.
I got some good stories for you with that one. I love when the older dads come up to me. I'm not even joking how this happened numerous times to me, because I was like the sex symbol. So whatever, I expected it. But like, they would literally come up to me and be like, oh, like my son really wants a photo. And the son is literally like has zero interest. Like the son's
6
like
months old.
Yeah, or like super young. And it's like, he's like looking the other way. And I'm like, oh, sure. And then like, he's like, come on, son. Like, he's like, get in the photo. Let's go. And meanwall, it's the dad that really wants the photo. I'm like, it's fine. Like, you could just admit it.
Let me know what it
is.
That's so funny.
It's not your son. It's you.
Oh, my God. All right. So I want to come back to WWE and the whole wrestling world after, but you and I, look at me. You and I share a level of adversity that has gone on just in the family with addiction.
Yes.
For me, my mom battled heavily for the first like 28 years of my life. And I shout her out every time I have an opportunity, because by the grace of God, she's now sober almost 7 years.
God bless.
Yes, God bless. But you dealt with similar situations with your oldest brother, correct?
Yes.
Who unfortunately then passed away at an early age of 40 years
40.
old. Can you talk about that a little bit, and how I think the real important piece is this is almost at like the pinnacle of your career.
Yeah.
And, I know about your faith, but also like it must have been really tested, because so many things at that time for you are going up, 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 up. But the one thing that you love the most in this world is your family. And that was, I'm sure, a very tough time. So if you would share with us about that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, it was, it was an ongoing battle with my brother, obviously, for a very long time. He always battled addiction, mainly when I could remember, because we're 8 years apart. It was a lot of drinking, really, alcohol, partying. Like he liked to go out, party. Everyone loved him too. He was like life of the party, had a great group of friends. And then I remember him moving out or at an early age, but I remember him and my dad having a lot of issues, obviously, growing up because he was, he'd act out. But he was also my brother at a very young age, his work ethic was we all have great work ethic in my family, but I will say his work ethic was probably the best out of all of us. This kid, he had OCD for sure, which, I think kind of had a little negative impact as he got older because he did have very obsessive compulsive disorder, where he would start mowing the lawn at a young age, and he the lines had to be so perfect, and if they weren't perfect, he'd snap. So he definitely had some issues, but my parents fought about it a lot growing up because it was it's their son, and my mom used to say I think he's a little bipolar. My dad's no, it's I don't think so. I think it's when he started using, then it was I think it's that. It was just and I wasn't involved in that because I was young. As I got older, I got into, some success and all that. And like I said, I always try to help my family, and I always tried to help him. Even when, years ago when I wasn't even that close with him, but I just would try to reach out because it was so much stress on my parents, obviously, and my dad. He worked for my dad. My dad, opened up a whole new business for him, another store, that, he did really well, but then it kind of, he had to close it down. There's just so much stuff involved that I just was trying to take the plate a little bit off my dad's plate. But, I can't do everything either. So I try my best, but then I'm traveling all around the world. I'm trying to do my thing, and, I always try to help. And then just the last 5 years, I would say, well, now it's almost 3 that he's been gone, which is crazy. So I would say a little over 5 years is when 5 years ago when I really tried to help him and get him into a rehab program. And he first, agreed. He got into a rehab program. Shortly after, I don't remember what happened exactly, but he got out, he relapsed, and now he's married with 2 kids. So it was very tough, and I tried so much. And then finally when I was let me move him down to Florida with me. I had my own townhouse. My mom was living with me at the time as well. So I had my mom I was taking care of, she was working, but I would never take a dime from her. And we had a lot of fun. My mom and I are really close. She's 66 going on 30.
You guys seem very similar.
Very similar, yeah.
She seems great.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. So she was great, but then I had her there. This is before Sabby and I were getting serious, but I had her there, and then I had Richie down there, and I got him into a really great rehab program right in Boca. I knew the people, they were giving him more treatments than his insurance would cover. Brain work, all this stuff that's way above my pay grade to even talk about. So I wouldn't even know, but they were doing so much. He was doing amazing. Stayed there for 3 months, should have been there longer, but he was really the best he ever was. I got his teeth fixed. I brought him to this dentist. And he's such a good looking guy. I don't know if you've seen a picture of him, but he's got these bright blue eyes. It was just so sad to see him go down this path. And then, his wife at that point, she stuck around, but obviously there was only so much she could do. And she's got these 2 kids my dad was helping them. And so she eventually was okay, I can't do this anymore. So what do you think happened? Obviously when, he realized that his family was going to not be around, but she still obviously let him speak to the kids and all that, which was good. But ever since then, he just went down, and he came out, he looked so good. And then, sorry if I get upset.
No, listen, it's very hard. And this is one thing, just addiction in general, you have the person who's addicted to substance, but then what they don't realize is exactly this, right? The people on the other side, the family who loves you more than anything in this world. And that's the hardest part. And my mom now lives that guilt, and she feels it, and I'm gonna get emotional too. Oof.
I know, sorry.
No, it's all right.
But every time I talk about him, it's normal,
But just to the person that's maybe struggling, you have so many people that love you, that care about you, and it's so important that if there is that little flicker inside you, to answer that little knock. Because there's so many people around you that want to help, that are willing to help, and sometimes, unfortunately, it's too late.
It's true, and it's true, and you obviously saw it, and that's what it is too. You never want to give up on a family member, right? And it's hard because other people that aren't in that world will be like, oh, you're enabling. And it's like, you can only do so much, but then also to the point where it's like, well, I give up. And then like if something happened and I wasn't there to help him, I had so much guilt. Like I was like always
I don't know how you had guilt, to be honest.
I know.
'Cause the way I'm hearing the story, and I almost feel selfish because what I did is I got to a point that I snapped. I talked on
our podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I snapped and I literally offered the pills up to my mom, and she takes one pill and, the eyes roll to the back of her head. I thought she died there.
I know.
And I was the one that was I was
right,
like, here, do this.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, were just doing everything in your power to try to save him.
Yeah,
So you
everything.
can
And
never,
this
is just me talking to you, you can never take any of that load because it was a decision that, he obviously chose to make. And for whatever reason, I mean, listen, God does some wild things.
I know.
And I'm a man of faith, and you know that.
Me too.
But yeah, some things are just, there's no words to it.
Exactly. There's no words. And it's it's nice to talk to people that obviously get it too, because there's a lot of people out there that are ignorant in it and they, they don't get it or they don't understand. But I don't really have guilt now looking back, but I think as I was in it with him, it was like a constant like, oh, and like it's like you were just waiting for that phone call.
Absolutely.
And it's like, and it happened, I was actually in Orlando, and getting back to what you said, it was at the height of my career. Like everything was amazing. I just became a double champion. Well, all the fans out there might call it different. This was a big debate on the internet.
Champ, right?
It was, so basically, this is another wrestling thing. I unified 2 titles, but when I called myself a double champion on my podcast months ago, it became this huge uproar. And this is where I love the fans, but damn, they fact checked me, Twitter fact checked me. It was this whole thing. I didn't even know this was a thing. And I'm like, okay, but technically I had the 2 titles for a little while, even though they were unified to one. I'm like, so that doesn't make me a double champ. So every time I say it, I'm always like, well, unified, whatever. So I was obviously at the height of my career. I was a champion for 400 days at that point, or a little less than 400. And I just really revamped my whole career. I just got a fresh coat of paint. I just changed the hair. I was edgier, and I felt like this was really who my character is, because I was doing the whole golden goddess for so long. I was blonde bombshell. I never got taken serious. And then this was the time when finally I felt like, my slogan, to put some respect on my name, it finally was people were respecting me as a wrestler. And I was finally, I'm good, now I'm getting the recognition of I could be hot and I could still work and be strong and, do all these things. And so it was really an amazing time for me in my career, in my, personal life. Obviously, Savvy and I had just gotten engaged. And there were so many great things going. And like I said, he was in and out, just unfortunately, when they battle, and he was in and out, he was doing well. And then he started going down, I could tell he was doing stuff, but I didn't know the extent of it. He was working really hard for this landscaping company, to the point where the owner, big landscaping company in Florida, the owner basically was like, I would want you to run this company soon. That's how good of a worker he was. So I'm like, Rich, you have so many opportunities. This guy wants you, easily, and it obviously just doesn't matter. It's a disease, unfortunately. And he, and then one day I was, we invited him over for Sunday dinner, actually at the house, and he was working on his car. He kept having issues with his car. So he's like, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm working on my car. He was actually helping the house that he stayed at. It was it wasn't a halfway house, but it kind of had the same, a lot of different rooms in a house in Florida, which I also wasn't a huge fan of, but it was temporary. And I also had him living with me for a long time. So it was also a time now that I'm okay, my mom moved back to New York. It was time for Sabby and I to live together without family members, have our alone time. I was taking care of a lot of people. So that was another thing. I'm well, should he just live with me? But then I'm it created a lot, it's stress. So he was living there. And then that day he didn't come over, but the next day I had to go to Orlando because I would film sometimes on Mondays for Tuesday. Tuesday was TVs. So I was filming something, and I remember exactly where I was. I was going to get this salad with chicken, this thing I used to get at this place in Orlando. And I was waiting, and I pulled up, and I looked at my phone, and it was an email. I didn't check my emails all day because I was filming all day. And it was from the owner of the landscaping company, which I thought that he had my number because I'd met him before. And it was the subject was have you talked to your brother today? And I'm like, fuck. Like it was in my stomach. Like right away I knew. Because he's also not the type to not go to work. And he'll go to work fucked up. It didn't matter. Like he was just that type of person. Like he would find a way, and he didn't go to work that day. And so I call Sabby right away, and I'm like, babe, you got to go to the house, whatever. And he's like, oh, you think maybe he went out like to Miami or something? Because he was talking about maybe like trying to get out. We were trying to maybe find him a girl, something, because he was alone and whatever. And I was like, no, I have a really bad feeling. I'm like, you need to go there. And it was just terrible because Sabby found him. And it was just, I mean, thankfully, not that this is anything to, but that I didn't, because I don't know if I could like live like that. Like, but it was. Yeah, it was fentanyl. And I don't think he was like using fentanyl really. I think and he was also very skeevy, my brother. Like he never did any needles. He hated needles. Like bringing him to the dentist was a struggle. So it was like a lot of mixed things, whether it was uppers and downers, coke. I don't know what specifically it was, but obviously fentanyl was in the drug.
And they say fentanyl is the worst because
it could be
the thickness of a ballpoint pen or something like that can kill you.
And it could be the littlest, and what happens too is when they go in for rehab, they are clean for a couple months, whatever it is, and then they sometimes, when they relapse, they sometimes use whatever they thought they could use, and their tolerance is different, or just the shit out there is just terrible nowadays too. That it's like so. Yeah, but now it's like he's. At peace, I would say, but obviously it didn't help anyone else.
No,
his family, it's like so sad.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
of
sharing
course.
and being vulnerable and open. But also I want to say, it's very important for the everyday listener to understand that although it may seem like a choice, this is not a choice. This is a disease. And I think that piece right there was the most important for me to learn, because I used to always challenge my mom. It's a choice for you to do this. Like you have to physically do that. And to an extent, yes. But like with my mom, with the Xanax, with the alcohol, your body now relies on this substance.
Yep.
So if this individual wakes up, it's the first thing that they need to have in their body, or else their body will shut down.
Exactly.
And this is extreme addiction,
I know.
right? So I think it's important to understand that, that was the biggest thing for me, that I had to really get away from the verbiage. And as I started going to the meetings, for the family support and, the rehabs, you know it well.
Yep.
It's like you have to learn about these things, because this is a disease that nobody would choose. And it wasn't until my mom would start saying to me, you think I want to be like this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing that people will look and oh, she's a junkie, he's a junkie, this. It's no, they wouldn't choose that.
No. Because why would someone want really that life?
Exactly.
And you make such a valid point. And the way you say it is so perfect, because I've had that conversation with a lot of people, and it's like, you're in a vulnerable state too. So it's like, I don't even want to have to explain this, because I don't want it to look like I'm trying to stick up for people that do that. And it's like my own family, but no, it is a disease. And unfortunately, my other brother, who is doing amazing right now, he battled a little, obviously a smaller scale of that, but pills, because the pills epidemic,
rampant.
It's disgusting. And this middle brother, he was, out of all of us, he'd be the one you'd look at and be like, oh, he's going to be the most successful out of all of us. And now he's amazing. He's doing amazing. And even we all can't believe, because Sabby didn't know him prior to this. And Sabby's like, your brother, he is so smart. He's so articulate, so intelligent, everything about him, and he is, that's who he is. And I got him help last summer, and he really, he's a perfect example of, he just kept using the pills because his body was just going in. He was just shutting down. He didn't want to do this. He even says, and he didn't like drinking. He wasn't a person that, wanted to get effed up. It wasn't like that. So I think that helps some people understand it a little bit more, because they think oh, you're just choosing to do this every day. And that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, no, I had to learn, because I was putting my mom in outpatient programs, and they were like, dude, she needs an inpatient program.
Right.
For those who may not know, it literally is what it sounds like. Outpatient is you go and you leave. Inpatient is they go and stay.
Yeah.
So the outpatient, actually here in Greenwich, Connecticut, they gave me access to her prescription, but they also gave me sugar pills. So in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna give this chick sugar pills all day long. And the doctor pulled me aside without my mom there and was like, she'll die.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she'll die.
Yeah.
Because they're so addicted. It's addiction, right?
Yes.
They're addicted to this substance that if you're not a professional, you cannot wean them off of this.
No.
And then the withdrawal process is the hardest part. My mom literally tells me, and people that I know that struggle with addiction, they tell me that that's the piece that most people can't get through.
Yep.
Because it's like you're casting demons out. You're throwing up. I mean, it's the
It
most
is
ugly
the
thing in the
worst.
world. And somebody has to be by your side 24/7, and they have to keep you alive, give you a little bit of the actual substance. And I'm explaining
that's why
this.
you have to wean off of it. People think, oh, you just wake up and don't do it. No.
It's not like that. and I think a lot of people don't understand that piece.
Very valid, yes. They
so,
don't.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't really planning on going that route.
But I'm actually really glad
yeah.
you did, because it actually, I think it explains to people that, may just not know too, the ignorance or whatever it may be. And that's a really good way to explain it, because the inpatient, I think, is what helped my brother so much at the time, because they're monitored, obviously. And then they also there's classes, too. There's workshops, and there's things, and he got brain things done, and trying to rewire his brain and all these things. And I think all of that it's really important, rather just an outpatient, when you just go back home and everything, it's too easy to just go back into that life. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's, I'd love to, I always say that I've just been so busy recently too with everything, but it's like, I'd love to maybe try to help others, or, whether it's even just family related stuff, because I don't mind talking about it. I think it's very important, but I think the biggest thing with my family too is you look at my family, and not that we grew up with a lot of money or anything, because we didn't. We were very middle class, but you kind of would never look at my family and my brothers, and the one that did struggle, that's clean now, thank God. He was an all-star quarterback at Yorktown. No one would ever think that it could happen to them, but there's no discrimination at the end of the day when they say that. Even your mom, your mom's a wonderful woman, and it's would you ever think that that would happen to her?
And nobody knew for a long time.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. Just sad. No. So,
and at this time, you are going through again this pinnacle of your career, and then after he passes, you have to perform on a huge stage, right? And now this is going to lead us, I guess, to the WWE downfall.
Yes,
maybe, right?
That's a word for it. I like that.
Yeah, I was gonna be really articulate and say demise, but we'll go there.
No, I like that.
Because this is significant, because it also speaks to your character, and that's the thing that I love about you the most, is your humility, and then just the individual that you are. So you're now going through this adverse time period, which most people, unless you're in it and you understand, you really don't get it.
Right.
And now you have to go perform in front of millions just a week or so after this happens, right?
Yeah, it was take as much time as you need. We're here for you. And obviously I got an immense amount of support from everyone, talent and everyone backstage. So I did, and it was, a week and maybe even 10 days less. I don't even know when it was, to be honest. And we had now I'm the champ at the time too. So listen, as a business, for how they are, and they always say business goes on, life goes on, and it's true. It's sad, but it's they have to do something, whether it's, get the title off me, have a match, whatever. They don't want to strip the title from me like that, because that's overall just messed up too in general, because you're going through this crazy hardship and people see it. It's all over, there's news articles all over the internet, whatever. So they asked me to come back to do this match, a title match it was. And of course, I was like, well, yeah, I got to do this. And at this point in my career, so I did. And that was so hard. My mind frame and my headspace was so not there. But with wrestling, it's you have to put together a match, make sure you don't get hurt out there, because you're obviously not, I probably took obviously time off from the gym and all the things, not eating enough, and my nutrition probably wasn't there. And it's then remember the whole match, but everything went well, thank God. I said a little prayer at the end, for him, because I think he was watching over me, obviously. But yeah, life goes on, and that's kind of the sad part too, is because when you're in it, it sucks. But everyone else out there, they didn't go through that. Their brother didn't just pass away, and I had to pretend and put my game face on. This is, I'm still Mandy Rose, the champ right now, and I have to keep wrestling. And I was at a big point in my career that I had to kind of upstand. I had to stay in that position, or else I'd probably, and it's a cruel business, at the end of the day, I could have got kicked to the curb and forgot about, and then all that hard work. It's such a hard situation.
Well, I think your mental resilience is so strong, and that's a major leadership quality of yours, is the ability to compartmentalize,
Yes.
right? And certain people just in life cannot do that.
Right.
But also, it's very important that if you want to be successful in any industry in life, you do have to have the ability to do that, because the reality is, one, you were working for a major business and organization that does expect you to perform,
Yep.
and if not, there will be consequences if you
Right.
don't, right? And even to your personal brand, there would be consequences at that time. But it's a skill set. Now, I'm curious, in those moments, so you said the prayer. How did you, I guess, talk us through like how you actually are able to perform at that time and just say, look, I know Richie just died. May he rest peacefully. But you know what? I have a job to do.
Yeah. I think, like you said, I am pretty good with the compartmentalizing aspect of it. And I feel like I do a pretty good job with that, even when it's like balancing, my personal life with work. And, even Savvy and I've been through a lot with that company. He was, released twice. I obviously was released after that. And then it's like, you don't want to involve your work life too much with your significant other, which, as you know, because it just sometimes, especially if it's negative, it's like you get home and you're talking about work, and it's, so I think I've done a decent job in that aspect, but I think I just kind of, like everything I've done in my life, it's like I just have to keep going, and I have my future family that I have to, think of, and my life, and be there for my my parents. Like, losing a child is not what anyone wants to go through. So being there for my parents, my other brothers, like we were, it was a terrible time. But yeah, I just kept going, and then, and that's kind of what leads me to what ended up happening, the downfall. But at the end of the day, it was kind of the best thing that's happened, obviously, for where I'm at now. But I had another opportunity come my way, which was the Fan Time at the time. It was called Fan Time. Was a platform that I could, chat with my fans and, exclusive content, whatever, that means in the aspect of how broad it could be. But so I had an opportunity that, this company wanted to, like, whatever I made in 3 months, they were going to match it. And I was like, that could be really lucrative.
Speedy 401k.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Nice
I mean,
program.
and as you know, independent contractors, we don't get that. And
Well, set that stage real quick. So
Yeah.
tell us about the WWE pay structure and like
Okay.
kind of how that works, because I mean, yes, I know now from you guys,
Yes.
but like I don't think the typical person may
no,
know.
they don't. So, we're independent contractors, 1099. So we, we get paid, we get our salary, but we don't get, 401k, we don't get pension, anything like that. And you're not really allowed to do too many things outside of the ring, where it has to be approved by them, which, as an independent contractor, you would think you'd be able to do other brand deals and whatnot. So they don't really allow you to do that unless you bring it to them and they say, okay, this could be a good opportunity. Let us get involved, though. Okay, sure. Let them get involved. And then all of a sudden your percentage is like this. And it's like, what was the point of this? Or they totally take it and they go, you know what? That would actually make a lot more sense for Rebecca over there instead of you. And it's like, because they're a big conglomerate and they can, if it's a big brand, whatever it is. So it's a very complicated world where, there's still no answers as to why they run their business like that.
Well, it's selfish.
Yeah,
Let's
of course.
just call it what it is.
It
That's
is.
what it is.
It is.
It's
And
just a business.
there's been guys when I was in the company, actually back, years ago, where they wanted to like do a strike thing, but like you can't, because the top guys that are getting paid the most and are living their best life and getting treated with like royalty that and some of them deserve it, whatever. They're not gonna be involved, and if they're not gonna be involved, there's no one. It ain't ever gonna work. But it's very different over there now because of the whole structure, the TKO and whatnot. But yeah, so you have to set yourself up for the future, because you don't make as much as everyone think you make anyway. The women are finally making a little bit more now, obviously. Still not close to the men, but more than what they first started out or when it was the Attitude Era or the Divas. So they're very much well respected. And, women's wrestling is huge. People want to see the women. They have an all women's pay-per-view now, which is cool. So, they're making a little more money, but it's still, at the end of the day, like people always say, like you make more money when you get out of there because of all the opportunities that come your way. And now that, the world is all these different platforms and social media and podcasts and all these things you could do, there's just so much opportunity out there to own your own brand. So yeah, that's kind of the background with that. And that's what I kind of always had in the back of my head. And Sabby was big on that as well, as my, fiance at the time, just being like, listen, like, there's going to be a day where like, you're not going to be the hottest thing right now, just like we all know, and they're not going to really care that much about you. And, you know, you need to set yourself up. So we were like, as a team, we were like, yeah, like, I mean, not that this was bad what I was doing, but it was like, well, if we take the risk, like I never thought that I'd get released from it. Like, I mean, there's been far more worse things that people have done in that company and did not get released.
So you sign up for this, what was it called? Fan time?
Fan time it's called, yeah.
Fan time. So now you're making a little bit of money on the fan time. You're keeping it on the low. This is me.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
100%, yeah.
You're keeping it on the low. WWE ultimately finds out about it at some point. A conversation then ensues.
Yeah, there's really no conversation. That's the shitty part, though, about it.
They were just like, hey, look, you give us this or you're out type thing? Or
yeah,
what?
it was basically, so I do it on the down low. I do it on such the down low that I never promoted it once. And, you know, as we know, the fans are amazing and they found it and whatever. They're keeping it on the low and until one asshole. And this person actually really was the asshole on Twitter that people still bring up to this day, which I don't even want to
ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, I don't even want to give him the credit because he'll probably watch this. So he can go, you know what? But he actually was the one that put something up on Twitter and it just went viral of like me having, and you know, of course it's not just saying, and it wasn't OnlyFans at the time, but it's not saying like she has fan time. It's saying like, you know, Mandy's doing nude photos, which I never was. I never am still, you know, it's not, that's not what it is. So, but what happened was things started leaking and they ended
photos or word of mouth?
Word of mouth.
Okay.
And then a few photos, but like, you know, me just in sexy lingerie. So like obviously like people were like, oh, like, you know, whatever. You know, it was just having a like more direct relationship with the fans and chatting and going live and all these things. So stuff started leaking, and then I got a phone call like kind of the night before I went into work from my attorney and was like, listen, like they said something like just make sure you just take it down. No problem. Like I took everything
Take down the whole platform?
Yeah, like be inactive.
Okay, well.
Excuse me.
Delete your account.
Yeah. Well, you don't really have to. Sure, guys, you don't have to delete the account.
Oh, just go quiet.
They didn't know that.
Okay.
So.
Hey, I deleted it.
Didn't delete the account. And this isn't reason why. Wait, the fans come out and be like, that's why you got fired. Like, no. It's called inactive because you don't have to delete an account like that. You just you can't do
like
anything
Instagram.
on it.
So if you deactivate,
deactivate.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry, that's the word. Deactivate. So you deactivate it, whatever. You're inactive, and you can't do anything on it. Did it like right away because I was like, all right, I knew this was it wasn't gonna be a battle to fight because I knew I wouldn't win. Mm-hmm. So then I go into work and I knew it was gonna be an issue, but I just didn't know how they were gonna take it. And I get pulled into the office right away, and they were just like. So, you know, nothing about anything. And I don't even know if the people that told me that were taking the title off me even knew the situation because that's how they do things over there. It's one phone call and it's get that title off her, thank you, bye. And like it could have been that, but I still don't know. Obviously, I'm not behind the scenes. But it was, we're going to switch the title tonight. And I'm like, what? Tonight? And it was a girl that was in there with me, Roxanne Perez, who took the title off me that night. I was friends with her. And she looked at me like, what?
Usually there's a build up, right? A storyline for the WWE.
So that was the first thing I said. Right? I'm like, oh, no build, nothing. I'm like, even, you know, Roxanne at the time said it. And she's like, because we anticipated that she was going to be the one to take the title off me. That was like, she was the next rising star. And it was going to be a build to it, like anything in wrestling. You don't just go in and do that one time.
And
like
just lose it right
fans would be like, what? And that's what they were. They were like, well, everyone knew because it was because of that. So I complied. I didn't really argue much. I asked to, you know, sit with the person there one-on-one after they left. And I just said, you know, I just like to be transparent. I was like, oh, this isn't because of like what's going on all over the internet. I mean, the thing was everywhere on the internet at this point. And it was nothing the thing. It was just like people talking about it. It was just like, and there was something that like leaked that was so stupid. It was like, you know nowadays with this like AI shit, it's nuts. But like I was in the pool and like they like lightened it and you can like kind of see like my boobs a little bit. So that like kind of went viral, but like you couldn't really see them. Like it was very like, but it was like the people were like hiring the brightness. Right? Yeah, it was a little bit like whatever. So that kind of got bad, which you know they didn't like, which is I understand. But and then you know he didn't even know. The guy I was talking to was just like, oh no, like playing dumb, and I'm like cool, whatever. I said I'll do what I have to do. So I went on to plan this match last minute. It was like hours before the show. And you know how we plan like matches. There's a lot involved. I'm losing the title tonight. I'm like, oh, I'm getting fired tomorrow. And everyone like was in like my coworkers were like, Mandy, you're not getting fired. They were like, you have way too much equity right now. Like they love you. I'm like, no, I'm getting fired tomorrow. Xavier Woods, I'll never forget, came up to me. He was the one and he had an issue way back on the internet, which was way worse than my issue. that they never fired him for. And he, he gave me a little, like, he was actually there at the time, and he was like, trust me. He's like, you'll be fine. He's like, they need to do this to make make it get quiet again, and then you'll be fine. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I get that. But then the next morning, so I have the match, lose the title. I actually cried a little bit there's like a video of me on YouTube of me like on the steps, because the whole place, it was a smaller arena because it was NXT at the time, but they were saying thank you, Mandy, which was cool. And then the next morning I stayed there because we were supposed to film the next day. I'm at my friend's house that I stay at when I'm up there because I was driving from South Florida. And I was like, oh no, I'm not even getting ready to go in because they usually, like, we know when their firings come. I felt it, yeah. I'm like, they're going to call me. And they called me like 10, 11 o'clock, I think it was. And they were like, you breached your contract. And I was like, oh, I'm like, just curious, like, where does it say that? Like, and they were like, oh, you'll have to talk to your lawyer about that. I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. Nothing from anyone. It was wild.
So the thing that bothers me about this story is, what's the timeline from when you basically put your entire life aside, when you're going through like the toughest time period of your life, when you lose your brother, to then perform for them, to then have this happen to you?
So it was less than 2 months. Well, actually it was 2 months. My brother passed away October 3rd. And then I got, so it was a little over 2 months actually. So then I got released December 14th.
Like, that from a business standpoint is what's sticking out to me.
I know.
Because I'm like, that's dirty. Like, penalize you, do whatever you got to do.
Oh yeah, honestly.
No you know what I mean?
And I'll
you knew
take
it was
accountability.
coming.
Yeah.
Right. You knew
Like,
it was
I'll take
coming, but it didn't
accountability.
have to go down that route. And honestly, what about the fan base? Like, I'm thinking about that piece too. Like, so now you're just, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't sound, from a moral perspective, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
But then it ends up being a blessing for you.
It ends up being a blessing, obviously. But yeah, the hypocrisy of it was a little wild. And that's what fans were. I mean, I didn't talk until I went on Tamron Hall show, because I was like, I don't want to say anything. I want to, my publicist was with me. I had to be very careful what I said. And I waited. But my fans said it all. Like, they, and I will say still to this day, like, they were with me the whole way. I mean, there was like 4 different things trending for like a week. It was like, Mandy Rose deserves better. Give Mandy a chance. I forgot. There was a couple. Give Mandy a chance, or put some respect on my. There was all these things trending from me, and it was like, it was cool to see. But the hypocrisy was just insane, because I'm sorry, and like, this is, we all know the stigmatism, but it's like, there were guys in the company that had, DUIs, and, everyone makes mistakes. Drug issues, and, they want to help them, which is great. But like, there was no like firing from that. Like, and what did I mean, really? Like,
right.
So.
But they end up writing an article about this.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Is this accurate? They write an article and basically release where people can find you and locate you, or no? Didn't your thing blow up once they did that?
It blew up. Yeah. So basically, they'd had an article out there, I think, too. But what happened is all the articles, wrestling news, all the things out there, everything, which obviously this was a double-edged sword. Wasn't, a huge fan of this, but, put some money in my pocket. But it was like basically the worst of the worst, because how TMZ and all that shit is. It's like, Mandy Rose gets fired because of nude photos. And my dad's like, what? And I'm like, no, Dad. I'm like, there's no nude photos. But what happened was, get down that rabbit hole. But for a fan's perspective, what? She got nude photos? Where? So everyone went to my fan time. So that's when, and I'd never like to brag about money. That's not who I am. But obviously it's news. It's all over there. But that's when I made $1 million in 2 weeks. And I was like, thanks, WWE. No.
Shout out WWE.
Yeah.
Wow. But that right there, I mean, I'm just not loving how they were operating from a business perspective, because you want to think that such a global organization like that is really about people over profit.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like that. That sounds like profit over people every day of the week.
And the whole thing is like, what was I doing that was, okay, yes, you guys weren't allowing that to happen behind the scenes, because it's like another brand partnership. I don't even know what you want to call that. Whatever. It's a little different. But I mean, mind you, I was like their sex symbol. Like, and you probably didn't even see half the stuff that I did. And it was, entertainment. It was fine. Like, I came out in a towel, a couple times. I was a home wrecker. I did a hotel scene with Jimmy Uso, who was married to Trinity, Naomi. I had a whole storyline with, it was Beauty and the Beast, making out with a almost 400-pound man, Otis, in front of my future husband at the time.
Oh God.
I mean, I did like whatever they asked me to, and like I did way worse. It's entertainment, whatever. And then like I got fired for like a few like sexy photos that are out there. Like really? Like,
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
Wild.
Thank you for sharing that.
No, of course.
So this is all so interesting to me. Some people might be listening and be like, duh, Dave, this is how it went down. And
No,
like, I don't know it.
It's cool to hear from the source too. You
absolutely.
don't know what nowadays you never know what you see on the internet.
Right. So Sabby was pivotal during this time, right?
Yes,
Like, and one of the things I
very.
love about him, and we'll talk about it more because we're going to do another episode with the two of you guys. But I mean, just how he looks after you.
Yeah.
The genuine care in his heart. Like I literally remember saying to Katie, the thing I love most about Sabby is how he talks about Amanda.
Yeah, he
Like,
does.
So I'm just
love
curious,
that too.
during a time like that, how has, I guess, being with him changed the way that you even now like love yourself?
Yeah, it really has changed because he is like, that's one thing that's so amazing. I mean, he has so many great qualities, but one thing I do love about him is I've seen him and I've heard him, and people tell me like how he talks about me to other people is so like genuine and real. And like, he really is so proud of me. And like, he is like, it sounds corny, like my biggest fan, because he really is like, he's looking out for me for every step of the way. And he not only like, and he's very selfless in that aspect too. Like, yes, we're a team, of course, we're married now, but it's like, even before we were married, like he wanted to do things, for me that's going to help for my future. And he, tries to help me as much with investing and, helping with the money that I make and that we make and that we can invest and set up our future. But he is like, just like, it's cool to have someone like that as your support team and as your significant other, to have so much love and like he does, he just talks so highly of me. It's so nice. It's cool to know. And I know he talked about it on your podcast, which was cool.
Yeah, and we both refer to our women as our queen.
I love it. I love when you post the queen on that.
We connected with that like right away.
Yep.
So yeah, although it was the bromance that really hit it
It
off
really
for us, it was that for me, because I want to surround myself with men
100%.
who represent their women.
100%.
And properly too, and are proud. Because
Yeah.
I also know where I came from, and I was not always that way.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more on the next
For
episode.
sure,
But
yeah.
now, from a legacy standpoint, right?
Yes.
What scares you, I guess, more? Is there any level of like failure that scares you, or being misunderstood in any way? Or have you worked through being misunderstood?
Yeah, I would say I probably worked through a little bit. The only thing I could maybe relate, and I don't know if this is a little like off what you're asking for, but I think it has something to do with it. It's like, through all that, obviously, we all know money isn't everything. So obviously I came out on top, which we all know. And it's a blessing, and I'm very grateful for where I'm at. But I will say, sometimes, and Sabby knows this, I talk about it, but sometimes I ever wonder, like, I'm really blessed now, but it's like, but if I didn't do that, right? Like, and if I stayed, like, where would I have been? Would, my next step was probably to go back up to the main roster, because I was down in NXT, revamping my career, and like, would it have would have been a better route? And you can't look back like that, right? Because we all have done things that were like, oh, what if we took that job, or what if we did that, or what, But I do think of that sometimes, because I didn't love wrestling my whole life, but I did end up falling in love with it. I definitely love it. I do miss it here and there. I miss the adrenaline rush. I miss the fans. I don't miss how my body felt, really, to be honest, because I have like some neck issues now that I'm like, I don't know if I could really ever go back full time. Because I want to be, healthy when I get older. I don't want to take 20 minutes to get out of bed. But there are things that I think about, like, oh, if I didn't maybe do that, where my life would be now. But I don't let myself think about that a lot, because I look at myself now and I'm like, I'm so blessed, and I'm glad I made that decision, because who knows where I could have been. I could, we always say, like, even Sabby talks about football. It's like, who knows if you stayed longer and, God forbid, got hurt and you were paralyzed, knock on wood, for the rest of your life. There's so many horrible things that could happen, obviously, that I'm so blessed that I am healthy and, doing the things I'm doing now. And I own my own brand, and I can monetize off my own brand, and I can do so many things for my own, room, my own house, which is great. And it's a blessing. But yeah, I would say that definitely sometimes crosses my mind.
I love it. I would be remiss not to talk about the importance of ownership now and what this, because to me, again, I'm looking at this conversation as a whole, but also like to help people and how important it is just to take back control of you, right?
Yeah.
You are your brand, and not just Mandy. This is anybody listening.
Yeah.
You are a brand, right? You are your own organization. You are your own company. So what has this really taught you about ownership and I guess the importance of like owning your name?
Yeah. Well, that's what I talked about like on Tamron Hall when I first went on. It was like, this was a pinnacle moment of like how valuable your NIL is, your name, image, and likeness. And any athlete out there, like it's one of them things where, yes, a big conglomerate, a big business, whatever it may be, will get they reap the benefits off of you, but you are the brand, right? So it's like, I feel like you're selling yourself short a little bit if you're not out there trying to monetize off your own brand and, reaping all the benefits of it and gaining all the benefits and not giving other people pieces of the pie when it's like, and it's all said and done, and then you're left with the smallest piece. It's like, hold up, like that don't make sense to me. Like, and it's like, listen, we have, you have your own podcast, how it works as a business. Like whoever helps within the business, of course they deserve, their pieces and, or whatever it may be, but it's like, you are the brand. And without that, there is nothing then. So like, I learned so much when it came to that. And I realized, today's day and age, how big these platforms are and how much like money is to be made because you use yourself as you realize how valuable you are. And I feel like when you're under the big umbrella of like WWE or NFL or whatever, a big conglomerate or business, whatever it means, you feel small because you are small and there's so many other people. But then when you kind of take yourself outside of it and you're like, wow, no, like I deserve this because of who I am as a person. And that's what I think a lot of people are seeing after WWE. And I feel like I'm a little bit of like the queen for this, and I kind of like take pride in it because I actually love helping the girls that when they get that phone call, because WWE firings happen like once every like 2 months almost. Like they happen a lot because it's just a cycle, right? They get new girls, new guys, whatever. And I've been like a big help to the other girls with these platforms and whatever it may be, they want to do, whether it's podcasts, whether it's brand deals, whether it's Snapchat, like there's so many things nowadays, right? So then I have a great team that helps me and I get them under them. And then, I can set them up and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I made more money in a month than I did my entire WWE contract a year. It's like, so I take pride in that. And it's not just because, I think it's like, it's more just about like setting yourself up because I hate to say it, but a lot of these girls and guys, especially the ones that aren't like, there's tiers, right? So there's a lot of guys that make great money, and then there's a lot of like, it's like feast or famine, right? I feel like MMA is like that too.
Do you have people that are making, $100,000 versus $2 million, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
a scale like that. Okay.
Yeah, the scale is, and you go from NXT developmental where you start off, like, our starting salaries, like Sabby will tell you, he went from, NFL to then making, his actually salary was a little bit bigger because of that. But we started in NXT at $50K.
Wow.
But you're really at the low totem pole. Like it's understandable. You work yourself up. But I had one girl recently that like got fired, and I got her hooked up with my team, and she's killing it right now. Like she's like, I cannot believe this. She just took her family on vacation in Miami. She's actually taking a break from wrestling because she noticed it's not good for her mental health right now, and she needs to take a break. She just bought herself a new, like there's so many things, but she's younger than me too, and I'm 35. And if I could help these young girls set themselves up, and even if they stay in the company for 10 years or 20, that's great. Yeah. I'm more like, I'm not telling them to leave the company and go do, it's just setting yourself up that you have a backup plan too. Right. Or even like like whatever niche you have, like mine was fitness. I always tell the girls when I was in NXT to have another passion too. So when this is all said and done and they call you and they say, oh, we don't need you anymore because we got someone better or cheaper or whatever, that you can now be like, oh, let me focus on this, because the opportunities are endless nowadays. If you have a good drive and a good business mindset and passion and motivation, like you can set yourself up. And you started this podcast not knowing what it would get to, you know what I mean? Like, and I just feel like that's a huge part of it. So I feel like I take pride in now, like, being
you're
almost
moving
like
the needle forward though.
Yeah,
and this whole
exactly.
thing, and also just to anyone out there, the statistics now are alarming with AI. They're saying in the next couple of years that it's going to take 60% of jobs away. So you better have some level of entrepreneurial mindset, some little passion project that you can begin to monetize on, because that computer is coming for your job.
Oh, 100%.
And it's coming for my
scary.
job. And it is scary. And what you're talking about at a high level is so important for the everyday individual that is working the standard 9 to 5, that you better put yourself in a position to where you have other investments going on and other areas where you can monetize.
Yep, 100%.
No, it's critical now more than ever.
It is. Wow, it's crazy. Yeah, to think that, but it's smart that you should.
No, absolutely. What would you, I talk to a lot of men, right?
Yep.
What would you tell women specifically who may be struggling with some level of confidence?
I would say, I think we all struggle with a little bit of confidence throughout our lives, right? I think that's normal. But I do think, as we always preach on our podcast as well, is like getting yourself in the gym and just working on yourself. And, not even if you're like single or whatever it may be, like, oh, I haven't found the right one. It's like, put yourself in a position that you feel so powerful and so, so strong being alone, like so what is the word? You're so like comfortable with being alone that when that person comes your way,
ready.
You're ready. Exactly. And you don't have to like be out there looking, because I know I have some single friends. It's hard. It's rough out there. But like, I think if you just focus on yourself, like eventually like the right one will come their way. And I think confidence only grows and gets better. Like my confidence keeps growing, I feel like, as I continue to do better for myself, similar to how, you guys feel as well as a man. I think it's similar to a woman as well. But I think maybe there's a social media has sometimes, put a little damper on women, especially too, in that field, because everyone sees these, perfect bodies or these, perfect lives. And there's so many things that's misconstrued, because it's like, you don't see the struggles out there of people, and all these famous people or all these people with whatever, you look at, you're like, oh, is that real? It's like, they still deal with, the struggles that we deal with. It's just, they're just not posting about it. Right. So that's another struggle.
No, I love that. So your husband struggles a little bit with the body situation, right?
Yeah.
He has a little bit of body dysmorphia.
A little bit.
I have it severe.
Really?
Yes, because I was 153 pounds and I still look in the mirror. I was really sick with Crohn's disease. And when I look in the mirror, I see that. Like it's real, like I've gone to therapy for it. It's like a real thing. And a lot of people don't expect that because of the way that I look now.
Right.
Is there something in your life that you struggle with that you, although it's there, you still continue to move forward? Because the one thing about me is, although I will look in the mirror and I will truly say, like, I'll say to Katie, I'll be like, wow, I look so skinny, or I look so like fat here in this area. Like I really struggle with that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't cripple me from moving forward. And I think that's a major difference between me and a lot of people.
Yes.
Is although I have it in a severe way, I still keep moving. Is there something in your life, though, that most people listening to this wouldn't know that you're actually struggling behind the scenes with something?
That's a good question.
Or you just don't care, like that, because you might have got to a level where I think that's cool too. Like, where you just don't care.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I there definitely is, but I think I got to a point where I don't care anymore. Like I mean,
and it doesn't have to be just physical.
Oh,
like,
for sure. I think there's definitely things along the way. I mean, obviously, the reason why we, work out and want to look so good is like, because, at one point we probably didn't like the way we looked or whatever it may be. And not just physical, but like, I think just, I don't know. I think I'm at a point where like, there are things that bother me, but it's like, I just, like, same with you. Like, well, you care, but like, you just keep moving. It's hard to say. Like, I feel like I don't really,
I can rephrase it. Where do you want to maybe get better in, even from a business standpoint, where you're like, oh, you know what? I need to be stronger here.
Okay. That's good. The one thing I would say is I'm a big empath. Like, I'm very empathetic of people's feelings, as you know, from the story I told you about to my brother and stuff. And Savvy and I sometimes will get in conversations, and he loves that I'm so supportive and so helpful and stuff. But one thing I would love to work on for myself, and maybe it's just really in my nature and it's really hard, but taking, let me figure out how I want to word this. Knowing that I can't fix everyone's problems. I'm a little bit of a control freak in the sense of, and this mainly has to do with my family, because we all have, I like get affected when like my family's affected by something, or whether it's like, you know, my dad, I worry about because his health the last couple of years haven't been he had a couple surgeries, and the smoking, you know, he quit and then he went back. So like I worry about him a lot. So I'm a little bit of a worrywart, but I think also like I try to make everyone happy. Like for instance, I just brought everyone on vacation and it was a beautiful time. We had a great time. But
my
like
phone must have been broken. I didn't get the invite.
Sorry. You guys should come next time. It was so much fun, you and Katie. But it was so nice, but I think I have to sometimes separate myself of not like I try to plan everything. I want everyone to be happy. Like I want, like, are you good? Like, Matt, you're happy. Gary, you're happy. Cool. My dad, oh, he doesn't look that happy. Like, cause he's just a quiet guy. And then it takes away
from you being in the moment.
Right. And it takes away from me being in the moment. And it affects me, like, mentally. So that would be my biggest thing.
Wow.
Which I'm glad you reworded it like that, because then it sparked.
Yep,
I was like thinking, I'm like, not that I'm perfect or anything. Trust me.
I don't take it that way.
I know.
So what would be the thing, though, if everything ended tomorrow from a business standpoint, what would be the thing that you'd be excited to wake up to? Like, regardless of if the money's there or not, right?
I think the next chapter for me, like, and where I think I'll be able to, you know, my family will always be there and I'll always be there for them and I'll always be the person that I am because that's who I am. But I think, like, when I have a child of my own is when it's going to be the moment of, like, okay, this is, you know, your baby, our baby. That's what comes first, you know, before everything. Obviously, you have your family, but now it's like, all right, let's set ourselves up. And like now, like we have to really make sure that like you can't just give and give and give. And like you have to make sure that you are, you know, set up for your future and for your kids' future. So I think that's going to be like a nice
mom era
for me. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Mom era is going to look good on you.
Oh, thanks.
That's awesome.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, parenting is something that's it's a beautiful thing. It's my my proudest, Well,
I see you with your daughter and it like makes me so happy. It's just so cool to see like a guy like you too. Obviously, I'm sure you've gotten this, but like because my brothers are like this too, you know, alpha presence and whatever. But then like when I see them with their daughters, it's like it's such a
just
nice,
melt, right?
That's what people say. They were like, "Oh, you're so in love with Sabby. Wait till you see him with your kid." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Shit.
Listen, this has been so fun, and I am just so grateful that we made the time to do this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No, absolutely, and thank you for opening up and your vulnerabilities. And we can continue to talk, but for the sake of time, we'll wrap it up. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on that maybe I didn't bring out, or am I just the best host ever?
I feel like you're such a good host. No, you hit everything. And like the time frame was perfect. So no, that was awesome.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can everybody find you and connect with you, your podcast, any platform you want to send people to? Let them know.
So you can find me at Mandy Sacs on like every platform, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And also we have our podcasts on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It is called Power Alphas Podcast. And yeah, you guys know where to find me.
Listen, again, just want to say thank you. Claudio, thank you behind the booth, man. And as always, you guys can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. And until next time, stop snoozing. Wow. So he's supposed to, you can say get up and get after it. Go ahead.
Okay, that's good. Right now? Okay. Get up and get after it.
There we go, baby. CV, look, he was so engulfed in the conversation. Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.